Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In today's video we are going to go through a tier list of the best ascensions to the worst ascensions in the game. So we are going to go from class S all the way to tier D, and we're going to go through all of them. This is going to be based on just Curse 7 Cycle 0 runs, so we're not including the Overlord cycles. This is only going to be your standard Cycle 0 runs. Because if we go into Overlord or Endless cycles, the list itself will change, and maybe we can do a separate complete tier list for that stuff if you guys enjoy this video. On that, if you guys do enjoy this video and you enjoy seeing videos like this and my Soulstone videos and other videos, please make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you do pop a comment down below and like the video as well. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. Starting off with what I think is an S tier build, one of the best ones in the game currently is going to be the Paladin. Now the Paladin's Ascension was quite rough in the beginning, but it did get buffed it got buffed in a sense where it now allows you to pick up the Holy Light without actually going into the circle. So it does give you less than if you did go into the circle. However, the fact that you are able to walk over those yellow orbs now that are left behind for a certain period of time does make it S ranked. And the other reason why it is S ranked is because it gains damage multiplicative damage when the Ascension is active. So the Paladin gets 95% multiplicative damage when his Ascension is active. Speaking of multiplicative multipliers, the next S rank is actually going to be the Arcane Weaver. Now this one's a bit of a sleeper one. A lot of people do sleep on the Arcane Weaver, but he gets 115% multiplicative multicast on his Ascension. They also updated his one so that you just literally have to walk over the crystals to activate it. You need like 4 or 5 crystals to activate it, and when you get a whole lot of enemies spawning in the curse runs, in the high curse, you'll end up getting those crystals relatively often. So you are going to have a really high multicast percentage without even trying, just because you get the multiplicative multicast on his Ascension. Alright, moving on from there. The next one is going to be Spellblade. Spellblade's Ascension 1 is one of the only Ascensions in the game that you can keep active from the time you use it all the way to the time you kill the final boss. We also landed up doing a no movement challenge on it, and that was before they nerfed it. It was so strong that they had to nerf the Paladin, the Barbarian and the Spellblade, and actually it was the Arcane Weaver as well. So these 4 characters were nerfed by the developers because they all 4 had passives that worked on them being hit, which increased, depending on the character. It was movement speed, damage reduction, damage, and then crit chance. So they did actually nerf all of them, so it now no longer can stack. It's only valid for a period of time and then gets removed, or it has a limit of how much it can stack. But before we go on to the other classes, the Spellblade, his Ascension, massive amounts of damage being dished out by it. Very easy to use as long as you know how to use it. Now, based on how to use and very easy to use, that brings us to actually the Panther, the Sentinel. Now, I personally think the Sentinel's one is actually S tier, and the reason for that is I have absolutely no problem getting it. The only problem, and actually because of this, is actually going to make it go to A tier. There is a cooldown to the Ascension. It's one of the only Ascensions that have a cooldown to it, besides for Assassin, where you lose your Panther for a minute and you have to wait a minute before you're able to get it again. So Panther, the Assassin, and the Pyromancer are the only ones that lose their Ascensions for a period of time, and you are then have to wait, you know, for a period until you're able to activate it again. And because of that, we're putting him in A tier. What the effect of the Ascension does, it is fantastic. You get an extra dash, you get multicast, you get cast frequency, you get damage. It's all there for you. Very, very strong, very easy to use as long as you are cornering your character. Alright, bringing us on to that, let's move on to the Assassin. The Assassin is going to be A tier. The reason I don't put him into S tier is 1, because of the cooldown, 2, because his Ascension is very, very good, but the majority of the reason to use his Ascension would be for the ambush or for the backstab or the stealth proc in his Ascension. So if you're using skills that are native to the Assassin, like all your ambush skills like lightning stab, twin dagger, and so on and so forth, then he is amazing. But if you start adding in like bomb builds, like I did the weakness build with him recently, his Ascension doesn't really benefit that too much compared to maybe doing the same thing on like your Paladin or on your Arcane Weaver or whatever the case may be, when you get flat stats, multiplicative stats that are a higher number, just a little bit harder to get. It's well worth it compared to having the ambush that you can't use. Alright, so that's why I've put him into A tier instead of an S tier. Alright, next we're going to go with the Legionaire over here. Now Legionaire is in a very tough spot. When we talk about Curse 7 runs, for his Ascension alone, we're going to put him into the C tier. Now I don't think anything belongs in the D tier, so let's just get that over with. Maybe we could have just deleted that row. But for this, I think that the Legionaire needs to sit in C tier. And the reason for that is, one, for just a single one of his catapults, you need to collect 17 drops. Now, when you start the run, at least within the first 2 minutes or so, you're only going to see maybe 10 drops or so. You can maybe get 2 catapults up by the time you've finished 2 bosses or 3 bosses, and then does it start ramping up after that. But the thing is, it takes way too long to get all 5 of his catapults up, and by the time you get them up, you've already finished the run. So that's why he is in C tier. But if we had to do a tier maker for something like your Endless Cycles or Overlords, that would definitely change depending on which one you're looking at. But for this, C tier. Next, off the same basis, we're going to look at someone like the Chaos Knight. For the Chaos Knight, I'm also going to have to put him in the C tier. The reason for that is the Ebonite summons. It doesn't feel right to the Chaos Knight. It doesn't feel like, okay, yes, he gets an army of Chaos Knights, and they do have a little bit of extra damage, and summons are very powerful. However, in the terms of like what he does and what he can do versus what his actual Ascension does, it just doesn't seem right. And if you're sitting with Carnage or even speed running, which is one of the things that Chaos Walker is really, really good at, you don't have time to run to the center of the map to activate his Ascension. Most of the time you're sitting in the corner to try and clear it as quickly as possible. So having an Ascension that makes you run to the center just to summon 3 units that aren't going to help you that much because you aren't buffing summons is kind of putting him in the C tier for me. Alright, on that we're going to go on to the Chaos Walker. I'm going to move him to B tier. He's only 1 up from the Chaos Walker. Very similar thing, you kill things. He's a little bit better because you don't have to physically collect any of the souls like you do with the Chaos Walker, the Death Knight, sorry. So he automatically like siphons the souls of the enemies, so it automatically gets you his Ascension bar. And once you've got it up, the towers aren't necessarily in the middle of the map, so it's not such a hassle. However, because you do have to go and collect them and then also stand there for a second or 2 while it activates the Ascension, which can get you killed, it is going to be B tier. Alright, Moving on, we've got the Beastmaster. Beastmaster also going to be in the B tier. Again, it's because you do have to follow the tracks for a certain amount of time, and that's going to lead you out of the corner. And for curse 48 or curse high curse maps and things like that, you want to try and finish them quickly, so you don't really want to move around a lot. And also when you're on those high curse maps, it is sometimes very difficult to see where the feet are, because sometimes they can go near the walls, and even though you're now able to see when you get close to the wall, it doesn't show you everything along the wall. So you have to run along the wall while dodging all these AoEs, trying to find these footsteps to just activate his Ascension. So sometimes it can be quite janky. If it wasn't as janky as it was, we would move him to A or even S tier, because, you know, having 4 extra summons can be great. Alright, next we're going to have ourselves the Pyromancer. I'm going to put him in A tier, and the reason for that is, again, it's one of those timed ones. The first time you use him, I think it's like 2 minutes, and then you get his Ascension, and then after that, for some reason, it takes longer and longer and longer to get the Ascension to proc. Now, the Ascension itself is extremely strong. Having the melting and damage on Ascension is quite relevant, especially on you know, higher Overlord cycles, but it is really relatively slow. Having to wait for it, being again like a slight cooldown kind of thing, I put it into the A tier instead of S tier. Barbarian, also very, very strong. We are going to put him into S tier because it is like a brainless Ascension. You literally just stand there, kill things, you get armor, you get damage, you get a bit of movement speed and everything like that. A fantastic Ascension, if you want to play those brain dead ones where you don't want to have to move around like you have to do for the other 3 that are in the S tier. So definitely an S tier because of how it gets used. The bonuses it gives you aren't as high as, let's say, the Paladin or the Arcane Weaver. However, because of the way that you activate it, it is there, and also it has the potential to be able to keep up 24/7 if you have enough enemies and you're killing fast enough. So it does have the potential to be up for an extremely long time, and it just helps you there. Alright, next we're going to go with the Necromancer. Now, Necromancer I'm also going to put in S tier. The reason for that is, one, I love Rot. So this one's very personal. It can go A tier, can go S tier. I'm putting it in S tier because I love summons. I love Rot as a damage over time source. And I love, being safe. So, one, he gets a lot of pieces for his Ascension to activate. You can have 8 of them active at any given time, not like 4 or 3 or 3 knights over here. He gets 8 of them active. They're easy to summon. The pieces are relatively easy to find. You can get like a whole whack of them clumped up at any given time just from killing mobs, and you are able to get them. One, they deal massive amounts of damage. You have 8 of them. They have an AoE. They are taunting enemies as well. So it's a very safe Ascension. It deals a lot of damage, and it is just really, really easy to use as well. So that's why we put it in the S rank. Alright, next we've got the Elementalist. Now this one's a bit of a weird one because it's very easy to use. It's relatively okay. You get a lot of different negative effects from his Ascension, but because of the way it works, I don't know where to put this. I think like an Elementalist right now is in a relatively weak spot. I don't think it's A, but I don't think it's really bad, like trash. So I'm gonna put him in B. I don't know this one. This one's a very tough one because I like Elementalist, but I could feel like there's so much more that could go with the Ascension for Elementalist. I feel like it's not too strong, but it's not too bad. It's not as bad as like the Chaos, the Death Knight, or the Legionaire. So I'm going to put him into the B tier over there. And then next we've got the Houndmaster. Houndmaster is going to go to A because his Ascension is very, very strong. However, because he only affects his dogs, it has to be A tier. It cannot be S tier. So being able to heal, get the buffs and everything, make your dog stronger and whatever the case is very, very good. But if it could benefit the actual Houndmaster himself, your character itself, that would have been fantastic. but because all of his, his whole skill tree as well as the Ascension only affects the dogs, we're gonna have to put him in the A tier over there. Mart, it's borderline, it's in between. If I could stick it over here, I would, but the tier list, you can only put it in one or the other. Maybe I need a personal tier list where I make it myself, and then I can stick him over here in the middle. But because it's on the fence, we're gonna put him in A tier. Because the dogs are actually quite strong, you can actually make them do more damage than some of the other skills and passives. So that's my tier list of Ascensions for curse, any of the curse levels, but only cycle 0. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section. I hope I don't piss too many people off with this, but we can have civil discussions in the comment section about this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and always remember, keep safe, survivors. Until next time, cheers.